Hello, revolutionary teammates. I am so excited to be here with you all. My name is Channing White. I am a 12-year public educator, and I have taught the primary grades ranging from first grade to fifth grade. I am currently a third grade teacher, and I have taught critical thinking at all levels. It's actually really funny. When I was a first grade teacher, I would have some of my teammates and some of my colleagues just question how I was speaking with the students on such an intellectual level, and they just didn't buy into it until a few months down the line, they saw those benefits. They saw my students just blossom. So I am excited to provide you with the tools that I use in my classroom to really foster and facilitate big conversations in young learners, also known as critical thinking. Let's get it. All right, y'all. So the benefits of critical thinking are self-discovery, confidence, leadership, meaningful learning experiences. It really opens your students up to another world of thought. No longer are they vessels of information that you're just kind of pouring into. They're pouring into themselves, and in turn, they are pouring into others. It is a win-win for everybody. They are igniting their interests, they are thinking deeper, and you are able to, as a teacher, have intellectual conversations with your babies. Oh my goodness. How many times have I heard teachers talk about needing adult interaction at the end of their workday? Has that been you? There's no way that I could sustain in this profession having conversations like, my favorite color is green. Now, yes, we want to have those conversations and meet students where they are and bring them to where we can take them, because of course we're not going to have perfection, but we are going to push that needle, right? However, we also want to teach them that we can dig deeper beyond the surface. It's so important that our students know and own their thoughts. This is a risk when we are sharing our innermost thoughts. So you want to create a safe space. You want it to be inviting. You want it to be affirming. You want students to celebrate each other and know that they do not have to be perfect in their thinking, that they can make mistakes, because that is part of the journey, y'all. We embrace it all. We leave nothing out. I want to take time to reflect. And we know as active practitioners that we must always be reflecting in our practice so that it can inform future or current decisions. So, how can you give back control of the learning process to your students? Oh my goodness. Yes, it goes against everything that we have ever been taught. We are the facilitators. We are the instructors. We have the management systems. Let me tell you something. Teaching a child how to manage themselves is a game changer. So how can we do that? Well, first, you have to build relationships. Our society, who we are as people, is built off of relationships. We cannot sustain alone. So just as you would build a relationship with your bestie boo, or with your colleague, or with your parent, or with anyone that you are interested in forming a relationship with, you put time and effort into it. You have authentic discussions. You spend time with that person, discussing their interests and yours. You share your flaws. They share their flaws. It's somewhat of a dance. You are giving, they are giving, you are taking, they are taking. You're picking up on social cues. You're doing so many things interchangeably that you don't realize that these are skills that need to be practiced with intention when we are dealing with children. So what I would suggest is that you utilize your morning meetings. You call a come to Jesus moment if you need to. Call them to the virtual carpet, okay? Whenever you need to have some discussions based on things that you observe in your classroom, based on topics of current events, or based on things that your students are expressing in class. I am so known for having a meeting, a generalized meeting discussing a specific observation I may have had during a learning experience. That means that you have to be paying attention. And I know you're like, wait, these are all things I say to my kids. Well, we have to practice what we preach. We must. So when we're thinking about building relationships, you want to create very specific opportunities for you to do that. So if you are in a virtual setting and there may be a student who has come into class early, there is your opportunity to engage with that child and speak to them about whatever you want. You can ask them about what they had for dinner or what their favorite sport is, or if they even like sports. Do they like to read? Why don't they like to read? Is there a particular movie that has become a book? When we are talking about building relationships, you also want to include families. You want to converse with the family and relate to them. Bring in your own experiences. That always builds connections and break down those walls that sometimes exist when we are trying to connect with families. You want to also ensure that you are intentional about these conversations that you have with your students and the conversations they have with their peers. You want to be that fly on the wall. However, they have to be comfortable to have these conversations around you. So that is why building relationships is important. It builds trust. Once you have trust, you can bop around to different breakout rooms and just listen and make mental notes and write anecdotal notes. Do all of those things to form your future decision making and your instruction. So if you hear a student talking about a particular interest, you want to make sure that you include that in your planning process when you have a certain game or activity. You want them to feel seen and represented. When students have this comfort that we all need as humans, they will be more willing to talk. I know that when I first meet anyone, I am just an observer. I'm very quiet. It takes time for me to come out of my shell. So think about, even if you aren't that type of person, that we have to have these understandings with our students. One particular example of how I use breakout rooms for conversation with my students is by simply naming the breakout rooms with the topics of interest my students have expressed. They love TikTok. They love Among Us. They enjoy their cellular devices or cell phones. They like to read. Some of them, they love artistry. So I just named each breakout room, each of those things, and had them choose. Once they chose their topic of interest, they popped in there. I popped around. I listened. I was quiet. They were not looking for me to affirm them or to redirect them because they knew that I trusted them to carry on a conversation. They know that. So I can be that fly on the wall to continue taking my anecdotal notes or my mental notes to continue to form my instruction. While you are building relationships, it is equally important to build growth mindset. What is growth mindset? It is the ability to know that you may not understand right now, or it's not going to happen yet. Yet is the key word. You have to put in the work. You have to overcome challenges and obstacles. You have to be willing to keep going, not give up on yourself. And it's really important for me to express to my students that although it may be challenging, you may be this close to success. You've gone this far and you're going to be this close to success and give up? No, we're not doing that, period. We are going to keep going. We're going to overcome. We are going to feel so successful in the struggle because we have not given up on ourselves. There are some mentor texts that I enjoy using when I am teaching growth mindset to springboard the conversation, such as The Invisible Boy, The Most Magnificent Thing, What Do You Do with a Problem, Jabari Jumps, The Girl Who Never Made Mistakes. I could go on. I'll share those resources with you, a list of growth mindset texts that you can read in your class for morning meeting that will really ignite discussion. When you are teaching growth mindset, it will build your students' confidence. All of this goes within the realm of critical thinking. Could you imagine sharing your thoughts, but you don't have confidence to do so? It's a must. Build their confidence, build their capacity for compassion of others, because when their classmates are sharing their thinking, it's important that they feel supported, that they feel affirmed, or just safe. You need to provide a pathway of safety for your students to express themselves. And when they do so, they will be inclined to encourage others to do the same. So it will no longer be you encouraging your students to speak and share their thoughts in depth and to think outside the box and to do some research and to question and wonder. Their classmates will be encouraging them to do the same. Your classroom culture will not be left the same after you introduce these principles and utilize these foundation tools of critical thinking. You must model, model, model. Okay? They have to see you struggling. They have to see you overcoming challenges. They need to see you questioning. So that could be used in the form of a book that you're using for reading. Everything is not presented in truth, in fact, in text. We know this. We are still today years old finding out things, okay? So being that we know that this is happening, we can in real time react to the text. We are not robots. When I first started teaching, I remember the thought or the notion that we had to leave who we were at the door and allow students to inform their own thinking. Yes, we do need to do that. No, we don't. We need to, and I'm getting silly, but we need to show our students how we react to information that we've been given, how to research, how to question, okay, how to feel confident in that process, and we're all good to go. After you have laid this foundation, it's time to be intentional about giving opportunities for your students to see their own strength in their thinking. This can be through number talks if you are teaching math. This can be through analyzing quotes if you are teaching reading. You could also analyze picture prompts. These are just 3 ideas, y'all. But as you keep going and moving through this journey, you're going to be adding more ingredients, a dash of love, a stick of compassion, a little cup of trust, okay? You're going to add these ingredients yourself to continue on this journey. So how do I use quotes in my classroom? I display the quote on Google Slide Deck and I just read it to understand it. We just read it to understand it. And we dissect any words that may be unknown or new using context clues and connecting to real life experiences. Once we just read the quote for face value, we reflect and we think about how this quote can apply to our lives. Once we reflect, we connect. We've connected it and we're connecting with each other. How do we connect with each other? We share our thinking on a Padlet. Padlet.com is mostly free. You're allowed to do, I think, 5 to 6 free Padlets, and then you have to pay. I am using the free option where you can just delete whatever you don't need anymore. And it's almost like a gallery walk or a gallery wall of information that your students are sharing. They can upload pictures and videos. The options are endless, okay? They can also use Google Jamboard to show their thinking with the quotes, or the good old chat, y'all. Throw it in the chat, drop it in the chat, okay? Whatever you feel most comfortable with doing. And then you take time to read some of the responses of your class. And when I tell you that just as I am able to connect to a quote as a mom, as a wife, as a teacher, My babies, my third grade babies can do the same. They are able to connect to their own experiences, and it is powerful. The atmosphere shifts in my classroom as we are sharing and reading aloud and pouring out our innermost thoughts. And y'all, we're all an artist and we're sensitive about our, okay, if you're an Erykah Badu fan, you caught that. All right. So it's important that we build that foundation of safety, of relationships, of growth mindsets, so we can get to that place where we're sharing freely. It's so freeing and liberating to be able to think intellectually without being made fun of, without being ridiculed, without being questioned or told we're right or wrong. What is right or wrong in our thought process as it relates to something as simple as quotes? The other strategy that I use are picture prompts. If you are teaching a current event, let's say you taught the insurrection and you did not feel comfortable talking about that with your students, you simply show them a picture and have them do a notice and a wonder chart. They can make this in their reading notebooks. What do you notice? Okay, what do you see? What do you observe? And what do you wonder? What are your questions that you have? So that is another strategy that is dynamic when asking students to think critically on a topic that you may otherwise think is above their heads. All right. And then I also mentioned number talks. Number talks are a math strategy where you display a math problem. It could be a range of skills, and you have students think aloud with their math talk, okay? They are thinking aloud the math strategies. And while they are doing that, you are recording every single thing that they say on the board. How do you do this virtually? You share your screen, you make a Google slide deck or however you do your presentations, and then you can use the annotation feature to write directly on the board and record everything they are saying. Let me tell you something. The other students are listening to how that student thinks and they're taking notes. They may not be writing anything down, but they're taking mental notes. And you know how I know that? You will hear it in someone else's analysis of a problem. They'll be taking nuggets from that person and this person, and that builds their confidence because they now have some tools in their bag that they can use to solve problems. It's all about community. It's all about helping one another. These are all learning opportunities. It's not test. It's how can I build you to think and have your own meaningful learning experience. These suggestions will get you started, but just know that as you are navigating these unknown or uncharted waters, that you're going to have to remix a few things, take a few ingredients out, add a little dash of this, add a little cup of that. And above all, above all, lead with your heart. Lead with a logical mind of what's best for your class and forget the rest, okay? In order to really do the work in this liberation education to be revolutionary, you have to think outside of the box because they're going to give you a box curriculum. And if you know that box curriculum is not culturally responsive or relative to what your students need in their own lives, you have to move accordingly. So I encourage you that you can do this. You are not alone. If you need any other ideas or suggestions, I am a DM away. I am an email away. I am a comment away. We are connected in the Instagram community, and you can follow me at I am Channing White. I look forward to see how your class will flourish with critical thinking and how your community will thrive. I am so happy that you stuck it out with me until this end. I will provide you with a list of text that you can use for growth mindset. I will also provide you with some building relationship techniques that I use in my classroom. And remember, do what's best for kids and leave the rest, y'all. All right. I hope y'all have a wonderful day, and let's get our critical thinking on.